All things to men must be as all things they must pass. As the pibroch's long lament regales the day, fair to say, no man is an island. Come the day the reckoning comes his way, will you bathe me in the water where the cool mountain streams running high? Will you carry me there where the high heather kisses the sky? No words of disdain crush your lips to break your smile. No errant thoughts are wandered in your mind. Fair's to say, I did not deserve you to defy the vanities of man. Will you hear me? Hear words calling? Or will the wild wind tear them apart? Will you hold me in your warm arms? Will you comfort the prodigal's hearts?
Good evening and welcome to another EP or album review. This one's on Bandcamp. It's by Eric Faulkner, and we're going to get into that in a bit. You just heard a song that I could talk about at length, and I will be talking about that song in particular and my thoughts on it after we do the Reader Mailbag, which is a new segment of our show, and it's things where someone may have commented and then deleted it, or a personal message that they may receive. But this one here, this is something that someone posted this and then they deleted it. So I'm not going to say the name of the person, and I don't know exactly why they deleted it, other than the fact that there were some spelling errors. But we all know, if you've had a few drinks, you might spell something wrong, or, if you're on your phone clicking because you're just angry with someone, right? But I think there's one really good point that this person makes. But generally this says, you completely, and there's spelling errors throughout this, but you did not even mention at all American surf music, especially by the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean. This is on my first, The Real Secrets of the Bay City Rollers. So there was the Beach Boys left out apparently, and Jan and Dean, and folk rock, Simon and Garfunkel, the Byrds, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, James Taylor, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, Gordon Lightfoot, Judy Collins, Arlo Guthrie. How about Woody Guthrie? That's me throwing that in. Joni Mitchell, Linda Ronstadt, Harry Chapin, John Denver, and others. I lived through that time as a teenager. You did not. Your view of that time is rather limited and untrue. Things did change when Martin Luther King was assassinated. I'm adding that in due to spelling errors, but rock and roll and Motown and R&B did not separate instantly. So, number one, yeah, I didn't mention a lot of that. Now, the Beach Boys. By the time 67 came around, the Beach Boys, like everyone else, were moving on to, we're not just making pop songs, we have to be artistes, and we're going to make an entire album of artistic music, and people are going to understand that just how great we are instead of focusing on a few songs. And so, for me, that doesn't really play into the story of, for me as a child, sorry about that, but it's a rough neighborhood here. For me as a child, I loved the Beach Boys, and so the fact that I didn't mention them kind of surprises me. I loved them, but my feeling about the Beach Boys is the same as Johnny Ramone's feeling about the Beach Boys, and that was, when asked what is the greatest band in the history of the United States, the Beach Boys come to mind. But then the problem is all of their really great stuff that I love was on albums where there was only one or two great songs and then maybe one hidden gem and then a bunch of stuff that is kind of like, they released a lot of records. But yeah, I loved the Beach Boys. But their music also changed. But the other stuff, the reason I wasn't talking so much about that is that as a kid, I wasn't missing Bob Dylan. Right? I wasn't missing Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, I was missing the Beach Boys. I was missing that kind of music. That's definitely true. Like Woody Guthrie, I didn't even know about yet, right? That was going to be a little bit later. And I love that. I'm actually going to talk about Woody Guthrie a bit later because I spent a few years listening to so much folk music, right? But the thing that really hit me in this, and it's something that's been in the back of my mind, is things didn't change as quickly after Martin Luther King's assassination as I would like to believe. And I think that's true. And I think what happens is, so I read in the 80s a ton of books about music from the 60s, right? From the 50s, actually, on. A lot of it was about Motown and The Who and stuff like that. And there is this kind of theme in a lot of books, and it's due to the historians having a narrative, I guess you would say, explaining how things changed after the assassination. But that's only one part of the puzzle. The other part of the puzzle was in the UK, people got sick of playing the pentatonic scale, and people got sick of hearing pentatonic scale over top of blues riffs, right? Because you have to be great to achieve that. And so things were changing very quickly, and pop music was changing very quickly, and it was bound to happen. I still, if you ask me what Rolling Stones albums I like the first, several EPs and 4 albums because I like rock and roll. But not everyone is going to be continuously enjoying, that kind of music. But the reason I like rock and roll more than I like, say, the blues, is that there's some variations that go on that are very different. Whereas blues, and I'm just saying 12-bar blues, it takes that special person to do that 12-bar blues where their guts are really in it, right? And I don't know how often those fantastic people come along. It seems pretty rare to me. So when they do come along, like John Lee Hooker, to me, is remarkable, just remarkable. I have one of his albums, On Campus, I think it's called, and it is mind-blowingly good. But not everyone can do that, but that's what makes a blues artist so special. But anyway, yes, this person that wrote in this and then deleted the comment, and don't let them tell you I deleted it. But they did, they were unhappy with what they wrote or whatever. It's very true that when you read a history book, the person is trying to build a narrative around it because it has to all kind of piece together, and it can be somewhat a bit of a flaw sometimes. But I think that the assassination did have an impact on. It had a huge impact on the U.S. American history, and the United States being one of the most powerful countries in the world at that time. It just goes out across the world. It's really it's horrible. It's very, very sad and disappointing that things like that happen. But here we are today, and we're still talking about it, right? So that was one reader mailbag, and the other one was, I'll paraphrase, "Why the F are you such an Eric fan? Scream, scream, scream." Right? And that brings us back to our topic of the day. And the topic of the day is Long Road Home, which is an EP1 by Eric Faulkner, which is available on Bandcamp. And I gotta say, there's a whisper campaign going on in the Bay City Rollers fandom world these days. I don't know exactly what it is, but you notice it when you see more and more that there's comments, but you can't see them, and there's all this stuff going on. And there was a flare up on my channel a while ago, and I just had to ban the person or whatever, And I think sometimes people think like that. For me, I'm looking for some kind of clique or whatever. It's no, it's if you come at me insulting the Bay City Rollers and saying things that I can simply buy a book and find that's not true, I'm not really going to trust you. So I'm not, and I'm wondering why, if you're a fan, you're coming in and bad mouthing and then insulting other people on the channel, and it's just ridiculous, right? So that's where I end up where I am. But one thing I really like about where I am is that people can have disagreements with me. Like, for example, I can get very haughty about producers when it comes to the Bay City Rollers, and I'll say things. And the people that I'm around and associated with sometimes completely disagree with me. But they're not like, we have to have a fight now, and we have to destroy, like, people move on with their lives, you know? I'm about the band, and I've always been about the band. And the reason for that, I think now even more so, is that I've been a father, and so I think of these kids, you know, heading out into the world. And it's an awful, awful world to begin with, but what they had to see of it was awful. And everyone that was in the band, at least for a short period of time, their lives were kind of destroyed. Everyone. Every single person. And they have to wake up every day knowing what they went through, and that they were in the newspapers and everything they said, and then there's fights amongst all of the band members, and it's awful. And I'm starting to realize now all of that, and the fact that a lot of people are continuing as fans to push grudges, and the grudges are the number one thing that people talk about sometimes, rather than the quality of the music and the songwriting. And it makes me sad, because it's starting to dawn on me that the band will never get the recognition that they deserve, because there's always going to be people out there that have something awful to say, and there's always going to be newspapers that will carry the awful news instead of the good news. And it's very sad, but it's because I'm naive, and I'm always willing to admit that I'm naive, but I'm not stupid, right? I don't believe some of the lies that people throw at me. Arguments have to be good. I work in computer science. It's all based on logic. You can't, just fib your way into a computer program working. You can't just lie to make it work. It actually has to truthfully work. But I can be naive and emotional, thinking that this band is going to get recognition someday. They're not. And part of it is, and I'm not trying to be mean to fans, and it's a 2%. Most fans are just people that in their car they're playing the CD, but other people have to go online and say bad things about this person, bad things about this person. They've got a grudge about this. They've got a vendetta because of this, and some of it, we all have to admit, came from inside the band itself. And when you do that, the reputation is soiled and soiled and soiled and soiled to the point where I don't know if it can ever be repaired. And the stuff that I've seen, like absolutely disgusting tirades by people that are hell-bent on the fact that the band was not good, are not going to help. And, any of us thinking that they're going to get recognition at some point in time have to just be happy and grateful that they've provided so much music that we like. But this moves right into this EP. Now, you just heard a song on the way in, and I'm hoping that I don't get any takedown notices on this, because I'm playing large portions of the songs. But there are minutes worth of more music for any of these songs that I want you to, like I'm saying this, I want you to go out and listen to. So, what do I think about this EP? Now, first of all, it took me longer to get into than the other two that I had reviewed, which is fine. But it's also because I was still listening to those, and then this one, you slowly move to another one and you bring in songs, and then finally you're kind of familiar with everything. So it took me a little while. But there's 2 songs on here at least. Actually, there's 3. I want to talk about another artist that I have so much appreciation for. And we're saying artists now. I want to talk about Kate Bush. Now, Kate Bush had the first really tremendous period of hers was like Wuthering Heights and like the first album. Just great vocals, right? And creativity like no one had ever heard before, like just ridiculous. And then she had a period which is like the Dreaming album, which is one of the most creative albums ever made, We're talking, like, she really likes Captain Beefheart. So if you're familiar with that stuff, that's really, like, Captain Beefheart is way I don't know how they even recorded Trout Mask Replica. I don't know how they did it. But The Dreaming is another one of those kinds of albums. It's just the creativity is flowing out of it. And artists get like this. After a certain amount of time, they start to be able to just write and write and write. And that's what was happening with Kate Bush with The Dreaming. But that's not my favorite Kate Bush music. My favorite Kate Bush music is when she has a little bit of a Celtic thing. So she has some of that on the B-side to the Hounds of Love album. And also like rhythmic music and kind of ethnic styled music. And so one of my favorite things by her is Ariel, the second CD, which is kind of like new age actually, but it's got other kinds of like rhythmic stuff in it. But my point is, the stuff that I enjoy the most by Kate Bush usually has that kind of like Celtic thing and some rhythms and stuff. And I've never heard any music that stands up to it. I used to go to bed, I think for 6 months straight, I went to bed listening to that music. And it just made my day great. I had never heard anything on that level until now. This is on that level. So and of course, Eric had been writing songs. Why the F do I like Eric? The guy has written over 150 songs that I enjoy. That is way more than anyone else, right? And then when you hear what you heard on the way in here, the depth of that song. And for me, it's like, no, this is exactly at the level that Kate Bush was writing at when I feel she was at her absolute best, It wasn't when she was selling the most records, perhaps, but she was at her absolute best. For me. Right? So that first song that I played, I didn't even tell anyone what the song was. Do I know what the name of the song was? I do believe the song is The Prodigal, right? Now that was produced by Phil Cunningham, and I want to say that because the production is perfect. All of the echoing parts are just perfect, and they add so much. I will actually look into, I have to know now who Phil Cunningham is because I hadn't really thought about this, and I'm going to look into that. And after a few more songs, maybe I'll talk about that. So I am trying to make this review be a focus on the music, right? And I'm going to play another one now. This one is called, this is from the Burns poem To Chloris, and the music is by Eric, and once again this is produced by Phil Cunningham, so I definitely have to do some research, but here it is. Have a listen to part of that nice piece.
"'Tis friendship's pledge, my young fair friend, nor thou the gift refuse, nor with unwilling ear attend the moralizing muse. Since thou in all thy youth and charms must bid the world adieu, a world gains peace in constant arms to join the friendly few. Since thy gay morn of life forecast chill came the tempest loud, and ere misfortune's eastern blast did nip a fairer flower.
Okay, so I have to assume, and it would make perfect sense that Phil Cunningham is Philip Martin Cunningham, who just an incredible write up here. I'm just using Wikipedia, but an incredible musician who has released so much music with so many people. One of the last things listed on here is Privateering with Mark Knopfler in 2012. And you know what? After I'm done recording this, I'm going to have to go and check that out. Mark Knopfler is a very special musician. The licks that he came up with on the fly in so many songs is just like that's not really my style of music. When you can appreciate someone as much as I appreciate him and it not be your style of music, it says tremendous things, right? So I want to check that out. But it doesn't even say on here, I don't think, that there's not a lot of focus on Phil doing production. But this is obviously another tremendous talent that he has, because we've heard 2 songs now produced by him that are exceptional in their production, and sadly should be on vinyl or CD somewhere, amongst other great folk music, like similar folk music. But that's fine. We're here to talk about the music and not get too much into that. But what an incredible song, and what a talent to write music to accompany a poem like that. It's I shake my head because I have so much difficulty trying to write songs. And the thing I love the most about the fact that I'm trying to write songs now is that I can appreciate the songwriting of anyone, whether I like that style of music or not. And this makes me think a lot about musicians. Like, when you see bands tearing up other bands, now that I've started writing and stuff like that, and I'm failing at it right now, but that's fine. I have an appreciation for a well-written song, and it makes me very suspicious when you see people cutting each other up. It's, it's a vendetta, or they're losing money because they had their style of music, yet this other style of music has taken over, and so now they're angry, and there's all of that. Like, it's so hard to succeed in music, right? So there's a lot of emotional stuff that gets into it. But for me now, as someone who tries to write something, when I see that he has taken this poem and set it to music, and he's done such an excellent job of it, there's just this huge amount of respect that I have, I know firsthand how challenging it is to write something even simple, right? And the other thing I like about all of the music, and I've got one more song I'm going to play for you, and it's an even better example of this. But the thing I really like about all of the music on this is that it is not pretentious, yet it is artistic. And I think that's when music hits that special spot where people can just listen to it and enjoy it, and it's not filled with self-indulgent stuff. It's just good solid songwriting. But the next one, the nice thing about it is that it's also got this rhythm that is just killing it right from the beginning. I love it. I'm disappointed in the sense that I'm only playing 3 songs for you, but I wanted to give enough time to each of these songs for it to gel in people's minds and to understand just how ridiculously great they are. And then there's a whole other part of the EP to move on to. And there's only one more EP for me to review, and that is Speaker's Corner. But the problem I'm having with that one is that Speaker's Corner obviously is going to be those are going to be political songs. And I don't know a lot about all the politics from around all the world, right? So I can only really discuss the music, but should I just go in and discuss the music on something that is a political album, right? And I'm kind of a left-wing kind of guy, but it's I don't even like left-wing and right-wing anymore, because people hide behind left-wing and sometimes and just use it to attack people, and I don't like it. But when I say left-wing, I'm going to give you an example. There's a news story in the Toronto Star recently saying property taxes are going up. Some people are going to be paying $350 more a year on their property tax. And this is a big story. I think it was the Toronto Star. It might have been the Globe and Mail. Who knows? In Toronto, if you live in a place where there is no rent control and you're renting, they can sometimes double your rent once your first year lease is done. Double. And yet we're worried about people that are finally just paying decent property tax. And it shows who we care about in this country. People with houses that they want them to constantly be worth more and more and more, but they don't want to pay any taxes on it. So that's my thought of left wing. It's kind of like, it's about economics, right? But I get in trouble with politics because I don't necessarily agree with all the stuff outside of economics, because I believe that economics is the thing that either helps people to succeed or prevents them from succeeding. Economics is used that way, right? And I know this is kind of off tangent, but if I don't do a review of Speaker's Corner, it's simply because when I get into politics, as you just heard, I can go on and on and on and on and on. But that's not to say I don't enjoy it, because I've been listening more and more and more and more to the Speaker's Corner, and I recommend that one as well, right? But I'm just saying that's what makes it kind of complicated for me to... There's so much going on with that one, right? We're talking decades of history in these songs, right? So there's so much going on there. Here's what it is. I can't do it justice. Now, I don't do anything justice, let's be honest. But that one in particular, I just get the feeling I won't be able to do it justice. So that explains that. But anyway, we're moving on to this next song. And let me see here. What did I choose? White Rose, Jacobus. I don't even know Jacobus. You know what? I'm such a... I don't know anything about what's going on in the song in many ways. Like, I have my suspicions about what's going on. But, you can listen to it and get your opinion. But, man, does he kill it on this one. It's got everything. He's got that great rhythm. Like, right away, the rhythm is fantastic. And then it takes a while for the chords to get in. And it's just the perfect chords. And then the lyrics are just... And the vocals are perfect. So I think unless I'm going to listen to the stuff that I recorded earlier and see if there were some points that I wanted to make that I didn't make. And if there are, I will come back after this. But if not, we'll simply end on this song. I hope you truly enjoy it. I'm going to put a link to Bandcamp for you to go and listen. And, if you can't afford to pay for the music, you can also go to Eric's website and just listen to music there. Because I think what happens at Bandcamp is that after a few songs, it might say, hey, you have to pay for this now, right? Like, even on my stuff on Bandcamp, which I do not recommend to anyone, after so many hits, it starts charging if they want to hear anything. And, that's just the way Bandcamp works. But if you really can't afford to purchase this, then you can go to Eric's website, and I'll put that up. I may be back. I may not be back. This is the beauty of producing your own stuff. There's no rules here. Enjoy this song.
Will you walk, praising Geordie's grace? Will you travel the wide siege Hanover's gates? Or will you, hey, a Jacobus, hey, a Jacobus, king o'er the water there? Be a Whig, be a Bob and John, be a turned Union man shifting for your own, or be a hey, a Jacobus, hey, a Jacobus, king o'er the water there. Over the water there waits the crown, waiting for some good men to bring it home. So let me see you pass the wine o'er the water, smell the white rose a growing for your cockhead, a blooming for the king. Did you lot Billy boy with teeth? Did you answer the call or a Peter head? Or did you hey, or a Jacobus, hey, or a Jacobus, king o'er the water you drink, make a toast with me? Would you march with the watch on your ain fox here? Or would you, hey, har a jack a bus, hey, har a jack a bus, king o'er the water there, over the water there, waits the crowd, waiting for some good men to bring it home. So let me see you pass a wine o'er the water, smell the white rose a growing for you.
Okay, so there was one thing that I mentioned earlier that I forgot to come back to, and that was that I was saying that I wanted to talk about Woody Guthrie. So I loved Woody Guthrie's music in my teens. Like, I just went crazy and tried to find everything that there was. And another person back at that point in time that I was really into was Robert Johnson, the blues guy, right? And so the thing I wanted to say about it is that sometimes if you don't have a direction with folk music of different types, you know, because the blues is folk music, really. You get kind of lost, and it becomes very difficult to listen to it because you feel, oh, I've heard this, I've heard this, I know this, and you look for something new all the time, and you know, and it can be like that with any genre-based music. You know, this is the difference between pop music and genre-based music. Pop music will borrow from genres, but it's always trying to be unique and new. You know, that's what popular music is really all about, and that's why there's such a teenage focus in pop music, right? Because they want something that's new. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I love Woody Guthrie and Robert Johnson, and I kind of fell out of, you know, and I really enjoyed some of Bob Dylan's stuff, right? But I kind of fell out of it. And I want to say something about Eric here, is that I was listening to the radio the other day, and they were playing some Eric Faulkner. And the guest DJ said, I'm not even into folk music, but Eric has made me enjoy folk music, right? And that is a big, big thing. That is a tremendous achievement, because most people are like that. Most people think that they will not enjoy folk music. But folk music is fantastic. But you have to dig and dig, you know? And there are exceptional artists out there. I know that Eric really likes Pete Seeger, I think it is. It's like someone that he really looked up to. And he's mentioned other guitarists that he looks up to as well, you know? But, you know, sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper. And I think that Eric's music, not only do I love Eric's music, don't get me wrong on that one, I'm sure you couldn't, but something that is really incredible is that he can take someone who thought they did not enjoy folk music, more trouble, and have them realize they love it, right? But then it's a matter of, okay, so where do I find more great folk music like this? Well, that's up to us to discover now, you know? That's the great thing about music. Someone creates a song, they put it out there, you hear it, and you're like, I want to know more about this, you know? And that's the story of my life, and I think for everyone else that loves music, that's the story of their lives as well. What a tremendous art form. I love music. This EP makes me love music even more. And hey, people say that people don't start listening to new music as they get older. Well, this is all new to me, and I think it's fantastic. It's some of the best stuff I've ever heard. So I think they're full of crap. So tune in next week, same time, same place. No, but thanks for watching, and if you haven't blocked me on social media yet, and I really hope that people can go out and enjoy this, because it is fantastic music. Have a good night.